Hey guys, welcome back. If you've been a long-time subscriber, thank you so much for staying with us and watching these videos. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dustin, this is Kevin, and welcome to Glass Blowing. If you'd like to see more, please hit that like and subscribe button.
Absolutely. Welcome back, everybody. This week we're making a sweet little banger hanger. Fun project with some transparent colors, cool perc. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I loved both those things. The transparent colors, which I think looks like hard candy, and the perc insert, which allows you to put like sculptural things and bigger ends on your percs, which is a cool technique that I wanted to share with you guys.
Absolutely. Great thing to add to the repertoire.
Totally. For those of you guys that have been part of the online school, thank you so much. It's been amazing to see how much it's been growing and the community that we're building, especially the live Monday night classes where we go over the demo together. It is just so fun to see the same group every week and be supporting each other. This week, I put up the plague pipe in honor of our plague year. I always thought these plague masks were really weird and interesting, so I just decided to make one in honor of the year. But anyway, that's this week's demo. If you're part of the online school, check it out. If not, there's a link there to sign up, and it's only $9 a month.
Absolutely. And we got a workshop coming up soon also. Alderson Glass will be here January 9th, rocking out some sweet filicellos and stuff.
Yeah, like super nice filicellos, super detailed. And then he's not only making discs, but like sections and stacking them up in little mini tubes and vials. And anyway, we're both really looking forward to seeing him. It's gonna have 4 camera angles, and you'll get to interact with me and Kevin, and of course Alderson Glass for the whole workshop, and really get your filicello and line work on point.
And then of course have access to that workshop afterwards to
Yes.
go back and watch it again if you want to see that in more detail.
Yes, absolutely.
Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I wanted to also thank Best of Glass on Instagram for sharing this Sherlock that I made. It was really an honor. I've always appreciated his eye for glass and what he shares, so thank you for sharing that. And those flowers were made by the Ballerine brothers. If you guys saw them in a previous video, know their work. They left some flowers for me, and then I built all the cage and put the Sherlock together and all the other little components around there. But it was super fun to make.
Very cool. And a little inspiration coming from last week's demo too. Kind of got you back in the mood.
Totally, exactly that happened. I was making that. It's basically the same technique, and I just was like, I'm gonna play with this a little bit. And I think that's kind of the benefit of these different techniques that we share for you guys too, is that you can try something and maybe you'll be able to spark a little piece or a small series off a technique that you're learning.
Very cool.
For those of you guys that asked, some of these pieces are available on my website, dustinrevere.com, under the available works. So if you guys are interested, the things that I make, I put up there, and you're welcome to get them. I can usually ship them out within a couple days, unless they're custom.
Totally. And check out your Instagram as well to see sometimes you put stuff up there when you're going to put it on the website.
Yep, absolutely.
Wanted to thank our sponsor, Mountain Glass Arts, for sponsoring the videos as always. They're a great place to get tools, color. They've got dichro extracts, different dichro tubing, stuff from smaller producers, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes they have so much stuff, and especially starting off, you might be overwhelmed. And so one of the best things that they do offer is that customer service where you can call, I'm just starting off, or I'm trying to do this technique. What do you have? What do you recommend? And they'll be able to kind of figure out what you need based on what you're trying to do.
Totally. And with new colors coming out all the time, sometimes they may even know about a color you haven't even heard of before.
Yep. Probably, right? There's so many
Yeah,
now.
always more. Well, thanks as always to Mountain Glass Arts.
Cool. Well, I think we should get in the studio. This is going to take us a few hours to make this, so
let's
do
it.
Get to work.
Sounds good,
See you
guys.
in there. All right, you guys. I'm going to start off with this transparent yellow that I just blew out, solid color from the blow tube. I really love this color. It's just such a nice, easy to work transparent color.
Just puffing that guy out. You had it on your metal blow pipe, opened up a hole. Now you got it on a nice clear blow pipe and good to go. Just talking about how much we like that color, actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So you're going to pop that back in the kiln, and you had another section of some transparent orange prepped up there.
Yeah, another solid color blowout, and this is the section of orange that I'm going to use to make the stem eventually.
So you're starting to shape it here. You're going to elongate it some, do a little bit of the pre-shaping before you get into actually, making that stem shape the way you want it.
Just going to puff a little bit and then hang it down and stretch this thing out.
You're gonna get a puntee going on the other end there, and you'll be able to pull it down into the shape you want for the neck of this rig.
Yeah, this is, I think, like a classic shape of rig that's become popular over the last few years, and there's been a lot of people putting percs inside of pieces, so I just want to kind of experiment with that and show you guys one way to do it. There's tons of different ways to do this, but it was a lot of fun to make this piece, so I just want to share it with you guys.
Going in now, you start to pull that down. You're gonna make a nice Maria. Go with the classic kind of shaping here. You're gonna kind of, I'd call this a banger hanger, right?
I think this is a banger hanger. I mean, would technically anything you could hang a banger on be a banger hanger?
That's true. I feel like it has to be 90 degrees personally to be to hang.
I see.
Right?
I think you're right. I think you're right that the 90 degrees and these ones are definitely, always, all joking aside, this shape is definitely referred to as a banger hanger more than, for example, like a mini tube with an oil rig mini tube or something.
Right. I feel like that's kind of the distinction people make is banger hangers got your 90 degree, mini tubes usually 45 degree.
Huh. Interesting.
I
think you're right.
They're both great though.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was a lot of fun making this piece for sure, and so now I'm just getting the stem ready, and usually try to make the stem first, and then I can kind of gauge the size of the can that I need to build all together.
Kind of determines the scale of the rest of the piece, right? It all has to look properly sized to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I love like pieces that are all transparent with different transparent colors, because it's been so long in the glass industry before we had good transparency that to even make a piece like this with all these crazy transparent colors wasn't even something that we could think of,
I mean, even 4 or 5 years ago, there were not nearly as many transparents. I remember back at one of the age shows when Mothership dropped all their like translucent colors where they'd mixed them down with a ton of clear and stuff like that to make these sweet like semi-transparent hues. It was sick, and everybody's like, wow, we've never seen colors like this. And now
now they're much more
off you go to
common.
Mountain Glass and see what we got.
I know, it's so cool. I can't wait to get more color, and I have so much color. I need a better color organizer for all that color, huh?
It's a never-ending cycle, right? There's always another cool one you want to try out,
and you should stockpile it. That's the thing. It's just like an investment. If you think you're gonna use 1 pound of color, buy 3, put 2 aside.
Totally. You never know when you need a little bit more, or it's going to go out of production.
Out sold out. You never know. It's good to have it.
The next hype color, and suddenly the price goes up, and got in at the right time.
Yeah. So just finishing up the shaping here and blowing out the top, because I'm going to put another little section of the mouthpiece here, which I'm melting on to make like a nice lip of the piece.
Right, kind of melted that back, little squat area, and you'll open up a hole there, and that'll eventually be where the mouthpiece is, but for now it needs a blow tube. Yeah,
exactly. Just gonna open this up with my jacks a little bit. I like to start off with one blade, especially in the small holes there. And speaking of the jacks, somebody in the Facebook group mentioned that they got back in stock on Spiral Arts this week. I'm not sure if they're already sold out, but if you guys are interested, Spiral Arts sells these jacks. They're really dope.
Totally. Yeah. Now's possibly your chance. I'm sure they're going to go quick if they're not already gone. Like
if they're
you said.
Not already gone, they'll be gone in a couple days. So if you're interested, you can check those out. So I'm just melting in this shape, pushing in this Maria a little bit more to kind of give a distinct shape of the stem, just for fun. And this also shortens it a little bit too.
A little bit squatter there. Just playing with the shape, having fun with this. This is usually I feel like you make mini tubes a little more often than banger hangers, so just kind of playing around with it.
Yeah, I totally make mini tubes way more often, but this is a great shape, and it'd be fun to explore it more. One thing that's really great, that I really love making these videos, is that it pushes me to make all different kinds of shapes and techniques, so it really broadens the stuff that I can make, and then I get to learn different things. So if you're making these videos with me and following along and making the projects, you're going to find things that you like and that you resonate with, and things that don't really fit your style, but it's still fun to like exercise that muscle.
Totally, try something new out. It's fun to see what you can do even, So you grabbed a piece of tubing out of the kiln there. The front end was in the kiln and the back is still cool enough to hold on to for now. So going to open that up and we'll grab a little blow tube action and get this separated up.
All right, so I'm going to pop this off, fold that over, and...
Nice shot.
Wow.
Been practicing, I see.
Yeah, practicing.
So now you're just going to seal that up, ginger hold on the tubing since it does get pretty warm as you go down there.
Yeah.
And this is some pretty sweet tubing you made up.
Yeah, this is some backstack, right? I think I made it on a 50 mil. It looks like made it on a 50 mil. And I think it's alternating clear and then a transparent color. And then
nice transparent green and black stringers, I think.
I think they're black stringers.
Very nice. So you're thinking a little spiral for the can of this piece would be a nice easy way to use some of this tubing.
Yeah, a spiral is a great technique, and it also it's not super time consuming, and obviously you guys have noticed this in an extra long video. Kevin and I filmed this for probably 4 hours or something. So I needed to get through the piece because it was more complicated, and this is a nice way to accent a main part of the piece without it taking too much time.
Absolutely, it's a good alternative to a wigwag for something like a production style rig or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're gonna start by splitting this up here into a couple sections. You don't need quite all that for the can of the rig there.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take some of this off using my V blade / cutting tool here.
Just condensing that down, letting it cool. Super handy. You guys see Dustin use that pretty much every video. So
yeah, and the older ones, I think I only had the V blade though.
That's true, but a V tool of a scoring tool like that of some kind, it's so handy to have right there.
Yeah, really nice. And mini torch too. Like those two things, a Bunsen, that little set with the Bunsen, the mini torch is the crack fixing machine.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
You guys will definitely see little Bunsening later on here.
Preston Hanna really made that a popular item on every glassblower's torch. Before it was pretty rare that people had Bunsens on their torch. Like some people did, right. Obviously there was a group of us that did, but Preston went around and taught a bunch of classes where he was showing people the benefits of having the Bunsen on the torch, on the bench, and he deserves a lot of credit for exposing that technique for sure.
Popularizing it amongst a lot of people. That's super cool. I mean,
do you know him with the waffles?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love Preston Hanna's work. It's great.
He makes the waffle perk. At least he did, but I don't know what his current work is up to. But certainly back in the day,
some sculptural stuff, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to give him a shout out for that tech because it's I use it all the time. A lot of other people do. It's great.
Yeah, you see him a lot more now for sure. It's just a little blow tube repair there. It just popped off from that tubing. This color kind of sometimes has a tendency to do that. Every once in a while, seal just doesn't want to hold. Yeah.
You got to be careful and be ready to repair it.
So just going in, spiraling up that other half of the tubing there, just rotating one hand a little faster than the other.
Yep, and then I'm going to take off that other punty, blow it out, even everything up.
Then you got a hole open here on the end. Open that up, and you're just going to hook up a blow tube here, and you will still have a little bit more tubing even after the spiral than you'll need.
Yeah, I want to take this down a little bit because I am going to attach a cap on the front and the bottom for the looks and the aesthetic of the piece. So I need to break this down a little bit more, and then I'll have what I need for the center of the piece.
Just going in there, just flame cut this guy off, and that'll give you just the size you need.
So when I take this off, I just want to make sure that I'm spiraling the same amount, so I keep this spiral turning them basically around the same degree, so it doesn't slow down or get warpy or anything there.
Right, want to keep it nice and even all the way there, and then clean up the termination a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're ready to shape this down a little bit before you attach those sections on.
So I'm just going to condense it a little bit, make sure that it's all nice and even. And I'm going to blow and push and expand it, and that's going to kind of get it in a shape that's close to what I'd like it to be.
Nice cylinder, nice even walls, a little bit shorter, a little bit wider.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get your punty back off there, just heating up the end, and you're gonna puff out a little bit to expand the size.
Yeah, there it goes. Just puff it out a little bit, and you can see it's kind of getting closer to the shape that it will eventually be.
Once again, going back in there, a couple moves. Love the way that spiral looks when it's hot and spinning like that.
Right? It's almost like somebody was looking at this like 500 years ago, and man, if I make 2 of these and put them into each other, that'd be a radicello.
They're like, whoa,
that'd
sick.
be rad. So just blowing this out, getting that wall thickness nice and even. You want to do this with everything that you're making. You want to be able to have some degree of expansion contraction to even out the wall thickness. Unless it's like strict tubing or something that you're using that you're never going to blow. But
right, since you had spiraled it, moved it around a lot, the walls might be a little bit uneven, so just condensing and re-expanding it helps with that.
Totally. It's just part of the process that gets everything nice and easy to work with and blow.
So you got a blow tube on that end there, making sure it's a nice, very solid seal, and you're going to take off your left hand blow tube and expand the other end there, shape the whole section.
Just going to take that off and melt that all back in, and then I'm going to match the shape and the size of the back part of the tubing, the part that's closest to my hand now, with the front part, the part that's furthest away from my hand, and just blow that out so I can really make that whole thing nice and even, and that'll be a great starting point for attaching the other pieces and starting to form this piece.
And the reason you can't just do it all at once on one blow tube is if you heated it up that much where your blow tube connection is, it's just going to get all floppy and not really work.
Yeah, and I mean, it's possible. Definitely possible. You could do it slowly. You could attach a punny, blow through a blow tube. There's ways to do it, and I think that a lot of my glass blowing technique is me taking what I learned in the furnace really early on and adapting that to the torch. And so I blow as off a blowpipe, basically, right? I mostly blow without a punny attached, and I just shape it on the end of the blowpipe, which is mimicking what soft glass does. And I'm using the Marver and rolling it out in a way that soft glass does, where more traditional scientific glass, they're going to be using graphite tools, not steel tools. They're going to be using reamers, not jacks, and things like that. But
a lot more blow hose hooked up per chance,
Yeah. So I've kind of adapted my own little set of techniques based on my furnace experience and the scientific time, and you guys should too. You guys should check out these videos. If you can get anything out of the ones that Kevin and I make, that's awesome. Add it to your repertoire, but spend a lot of time meeting other people, watching other videos, and just pick up 1 or 2 things from everybody, and then you can formulate your own style for your own body of work.
That's the real key, right? Come up with what you're interested in, what you want to do, and your own techniques eventually.
Yeah. And then when you got your techniques down, come over to my house. We'll hang out. You can share some stuff. I'll share some stuff, and we can make a collab.
Heck yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. So you just pulled out a quick stringer of some jet black there. You're going to do a lip wrap, and this is the section you'll be attaching up to your main body of the can.
Yeah. This is another solid color blowout.
Just transparent green going on here.
Yeah, it's great. I love all these transparent colors. It reminds me of like hard candy or something.
Totally. I can see that for sure. A little hard candy rig.
Yeah. You could probably do that with sugar, huh?
I don't know. It'd be pretty cool. Make a little mold and pour it.
Well, no, you can blow sugar.
Have
you ever seen
that.
sugar
Yes,
blowing?
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can make a rig though. That would be very involved.
It would, but just making a rig is involved in general.
Fair
right?
Fair enough.
When I was in Italy, I went to this place called Centro Studio Vetro. It was a school. This is the second time I went, and that was teacher assistant to Lucio Bubacco. It was basically like a summer camp, and people from all over came, and we had our own little island in Venice. It was called San Servolo, and long story short, basically, we blew some sugar. We heated up, and all of us glass blowers tried to melt some sugar one night. And I mean, we didn't make a rig, but I think we made like a little goblet or something.
That's super cool. That's awesome. Hell, maybe one day we'll have to do a sugar blowing demo.
Dude, we should. I don't know. Maybe that might be complicated. But if you guys have blown sugar, or if you'd like to try it, post in the Facebook group, because I would love to see what some glass blowers could do with some sugar.
We'll have to do some brainstorming here.
Yummy.
So you got that section attached up after that lip wrap, and you're just going to puff it out and expand that into one section, as you guys have seen before.
So just connecting the two and blowing it out, melting it together, and trying to even out everything and make it form one piece.
Putting the heat right in at that connection area there, since these two colors are moving at pretty similar rates.
Yeah, these aren't super crazy different colors. Like the viscosity is very similar.
Just putting that heat in there, and you can see that starting to take on a nice cylindrical shape there.
But what you can see the difference in the viscosity is in the jet black lip wrap, right? Like that's definitely stiffer than both of those transparents, and you can see that I spend extra time and care to try to blow that little point out to be nice and even with the rest of the piece.
Right, you don't want a little divot or anything
Right.
where the lip wrap is.
Yeah. So we got to do the same thing on the other side to match it up, and so open up the other side, and I'm going to attach a blow tube, basically making a giant pill or something it looks like almost, you know?
Totally, definitely that shape.
Yeah.
Open that up to your 12 mil, seal on there.
Heat that up. You want to stick it, push, and pull a little bit, and then we can detach our other blow tube and put the lip wrap on and the other cap.
Pulling your blow tube off a little bit away from the section as usual, so you can work that heat and get that gradient of heat into the end, so there's no cracking happening.
Not yet.
Not yet. A little foreshadowing there. Pulling out that termination.
If you guys are into it, I mean, sometimes I know that we've left some of the repairs of pieces in here, but 2 weeks ago, there was a bubbler I was making in the online school where the whole thing just fell off, and I left the whole repair in there. So if you guys are interested in, you know, how to fix the cracks and the repairs, hit up the online school and check out that it's the bubbler crucible color pulled bubbler or something is what I called it. Yeah,
very nice, very nice. Yeah, sometimes those repairs get very involved, you know, kilning, bunsening, lots of mini torching.
Yep. But it's like it's an understated part of the glass blowing process. Everybody who's blown glass and borosilicate pipes has their pieces break, and you need to learn how to fix them, and you learn how to repair them on the fly.
Right, you know, save a whole day's worth of work.
Yeah. And you got to get kind of, when you're repairing something, you got to make all these steps to kind of get back to where you were in the process, so then you can start to move the process forward again.
Totally. So you got your other section out of the kiln here, heating that guy up. Just give him a little bit of a puff before you hook it on there. This, once again, evening out the wall thickness, getting it to the size you want.
Yeah, and this is again that transparent yellowish green color that we did some solid color blowouts of ahead of time.
So you're opening up that hole, one blade, then two blades. And you can see how you're moving the glass, not the jacks, right? Your jacks are always stationary.
Yep.
And the glass does the movement.
Yep, and also when I applied those stringers, the stringers stay in the same place, and I turn the glass around because I want the glass in the flame in the same place, so I can calculate the speed at which it's going to move.
Right, same heat the whole way around.
Exactly.
Whereas, getting in and out of the heat if you were moving the stringer.
Yeah. So we're going to do the same thing on this other side. Heat it up and condense it down, blow it out. And you can see there's not a lot of heat transfer from the cap into the main piece, also because that black line is there. If I want to heat the spiral piece, I actually have to put the torch there, and it's not going to conduct into that way because that black line.
Very, very color needs a lot of heat to make it move, really absorbs it.
Yeah. So blowing it up and marvering it out, and then we're going to check to see if the top is around the right size. Seems like it's around the right size.
Looking pretty proportional. You'll kind of flatten off and squat out the bubble a little. It should look good.
But it's always good to check along the way. Give it an eye. Make sure that it's the right thing for you and the right shapes.
So give that a couple minutes, maybe 10 minutes in the kiln, and now it's time for some lathe action.
Let's put it in the lathe. So I like to use a lathe for different parts of my pieces. It's pretty rare that I'll use the lathe exclusively for a piece. I usually like to put some different hand-worked sections in there. So this is what we're doing here.
got it slid up into the chucks, locked them down. You lock the jaws by spinning the wheel behind them to lock them down, and now you can bring in a punty from the other side from the tailstock, and looks like it might be a little bit off center there, so you're going to even it out.
Yep. That was a little scary. That was more than I meant to do it, but I hope I can get it back on. There we go. So yeah, you can see that when I put it on the lathe, it was a little off center, and then now I just centered it up true, and I'll be able to attach this punny and then make sure the walls, the outer wall now matches the inner line of true, basically.
Exactly. The whole piece will be blown out from a nice on-center point.
Yeah. So I'm just going to use the lathe to straighten this up to make this as, straight as I can.
Do your shape, do your main can shaping on here. Starting with flattening the walls there, making sure the walls are nice and even.
Yeah, you're just working it. You got to kind of blow it in and out a little bit and condense it in the same way around here. And then, for me, I don't blow glass perfectly on center when I'm on the torch, so it takes me a second to correct everything to get it on center on the lathe.
Love that hand torch.
That is my
So
favorite torch. I love that torch.
It's a Delta Elite, right?
Delta Elite hand torch with the thumb switch.
The thumb switch is clutch. Can't be beat. Even makes such good noises.
It's such a good click. Click. Yeah.
And then when you turn it off, you get the nice pop of the torch.
Yeah.
So you just heated up the end there and move the tailstock in slowly as you were heating to start to squat the bubble out.
Yep, and now I'm going to pull it down just a little bit in the center and then remove that punny.
You will clean up any clear that's left there, as always, taking it off with a little bit of clear left so you don't hurt the bubble.
And then I'm going to take this and make a flat bottom. So I'm going to heat this up, and you can see that the torch is skimming it. I'm not pointing the torch at the piece. I'm letting the edge of the torch skim along the glass, and that kind of helps me start making a flat bottom.
Most of the heat focused on the bottom, but some wrapping around the edge there. And then you'll use your big paddle and start to flatten it out, gradually heating, flattening, flattening.
And then I'm going to let that cool just for a little bit before I work it again and let the whole heat equalize with the Bunsen.
So now you're going to go in and start to open up a hole there. You can see the Bunsen really fighting with the Lynx flame.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too. When I have the Lynx and the Bunsen going, they definitely fight.
So it makes it much easier to get the heat where you want it there, and just turn the Bunsen off for a minute.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't need to be on all the time, as long as you keep the Bunsen on, you keep your work at good temperature.
Right, like exactly right now when you're putting the other piece in the tailstock, you don't want it to cool off too much right before you go back in with the torch.
Exactly. So now I'm gonna heat up both of these sections, and it looks like it's pretty on center, so it's gonna make a nice connection. Heat that up, and then pull and blow.
Little push, pull, blow. Heat focused right on there on the connection. And the lathe makes that operation nice and easy, right? You stick it, you can really easily see how much you're pulling back out there.
Yeah, and it's a jig, right? So it holds everything in place, so I can really make sure that seal is super solid.
Right, no need for a bridge when you have the lathe.
Yeah.
So you're going to go in on the bottom here, pull that blow tube off, and just pop this guy in the kiln for a little bit so it can all come up to temperature.
Yeah, we'll pop it in for about 10 minutes, and in the meantime, we can make some other parts of it. But I'm trying to just straighten this out, make sure that everything is as kind of clean as I can make it before I take it off and put it in the kiln. And then from this point forward, I'll probably work back on the bench for most of this.
Pulling it away there, and you'll loosen up the tailstock and use a pad there to grab it since it's quite hot. Nowhere to really grab.
Yeah, and I don't want to really hold it in the pad super long. I want to really keep that contact short and sweet, because it could leave some stuff I'd have to take off later.
Little scuzz marks or something, something burned on.
Yeah.
So now you let that sit in the kiln for 10 minutes, and you're going to clean up the bottom there where there was the residual bits of that blow tube.
you can see that there was a little piece left on when it was rolling just then. If you guys pause the video, rewind for a second, you'll be able to see that there was a little mark left on from the pad, and that'll just come off. But I think it even touched, see, there it is right there. It even touched the tag or something of the pad. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Which
Something
no
on
good.
there burned on.
Yeah.
Which ended up just burning off. It ended up being fine.
Yeah,
So.
but it's still, it's a bit of a risk. It's not always going to burn off clean,
Exactly,
and sometimes it won't. And
you don't want to risk it.
no. So opening up the bottoms, because I'm going to eventually insert the perc. So as opposed to some of the other videos where we've showed you how to insert the perc from the outside, kind of
Like dropping it down,
like dropping it down stem, or popping a hole in the mini tube and inserting the perc. We're in this video, we're going to actually open up the whole bottom, because I wanted to demonstrate how to make a perc with a bigger, bubble device than just like a slit in a tube or something. You could even make a sculpture of a penguin or something and put it in there.
Put a banana perc in there.
Exactly. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Literally endless.
Why don't you guys tell us your favorite ideas for percs that you want to put in pieces?
I would love to see some of these. I can't wait.
Right?
So you're just puffing this out nice and big, because you're going to need this large enough to fit your perc and the little connection piece that connects to the side of the rig in.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll open up a hole now that you have that nice and expanded, and you're just going to essentially flare this out.
Yeah, and we're gonna flare it out big, and we're have to put it back down. So all that practice making those inside out spoons, where we had to flare it and then condense it back, it'll come in handy right now.
Turns out it was the perfect practice.
Yeah.
So just opening that bubble there, opening that hole, and now of course the jacks. Time for the jacks.
The jacks, opening and flaring.
This is where something like the jacks shine, where you're opening to a really large size.
Yeah, from small to large, really fast. They do a really good job.
Letting the natural opening of the jacks start to expand that as you're spinning back and forth.
There we go. Open that up and try to create enough room so I can stick some sort of perc in there.
Focusing all your heat kind of on the edge, you really have that gradient going from the very edge inward, and that'll help the lip move the most.
Totally.
And you can see that's now opened up to the same diameter as, the smallest section of the can of the piece. So you're ready to slide that perc in.
All right, let's put this in the kiln, and I will start to make something out of this other solid color blowout that I pulled out of the kiln.
Very nice transparent blue color, almost baby blue. I quite like this one.
Yeah, this is one that my friend Derek Mitzel came to teach a class, and this was a color that Glass Alchemy donated to the class, to the students, so that they could
very cool.
make their dragons out of.
Nice. And a little extra piece left over. Figured would fit very nice with these ones.
So I'm making the perc, and what I want to do is I want to start to stretch out the part that's going to connect to the wall. And so I need to stretch that out to be thin, like maybe 10 to 12 millimeter tubing. So I'm going to pull that down, and then that's going to give me kind of a tube to start to form the perc off of, and then I can blow out the bottom into, I don't know, a donut or something.
Absolutely right. So that you can see that nice thin piece there will be what bends and connects to the wall of the piece where the joint will go.
Exactly. And I mean, that's kind of cool, because it adds some continuity between what I'm going to do for the joint, and then that piece is you're going to see the color go from the outside inward,
Exactly. It flows all the way through there. So now that you have that to the desired diameter, you can start to shape the actual perc, and a donut seemed like a pretty good idea.
Let's do it. Let's do not it.
So you're going to blow this out into a little bubble, and then you'll flatten it.
Yeah, and this is just a fun, super old school technique. Donut time.
So you're getting it nice and warm there. You can see you got your big mashers with the flat paddles here.
Heat it up, and I want to let it cool just for a sec, because it's going to maintain its heat long enough that I don't need to go in right away. I want to let that kind of set and then go in.
Where you have a little bit more control. And you also have your blow hose attached, so you can put a little air in if you need to keep it from tagging. You don't want to tag the walls together yet.
You definitely don't, and you certainly can. And
it's a danger with the donut.
Having the blow tube really helps with that.
So once you have that nice flat disc there, you're going to start to put some heat with the mini torch right into the center. Pop a little tiny hole.
And flip it around, do the same thing on the other side.
And you want to keep that first hole really nice and small so you can still get enough air pressure to pop that second hole very easily.
There we go. And now there's like probably several different ways to make a donut. I used to only pop a hole on one side. And I don't know if you remember that from any of the earlier videos.
Way back.
But yeah, I used to pop the hole on one side and then push it through with a tungsten and then ream it out. But what I found was that if I can get the two holes to connect and then ream it out with graphite, I don't leave any marks.
Comes out cleaner
Comes
overall.
out cleaner overall.
So you're using your bull push to push those two holes so they touch in the middle and create a little pass through.
Yeah, and the bull push has a little pin on it, right? So I can get that pin right in that hole on each side, and then even when they touch, it'll still have room to go through. So I'm going back and forth really carefully, trying to line up these holes, which, you know, with some practice, it's pretty easy, actually.
Boom, good to go. And now you can just stick your reamer right through and start to expand the hole of the donut to whatever size you want.
Yeah, I didn't use my graphite reamer in this. I used my brass, so it definitely has a higher chance of leaving marks, but I don't know if I have a brass long one shaped like this. I know I have a graphite one. I have a graphite one that's a stronger taper.
Right, a little squatter, a little shorter guy.
Yeah.
Totally, I know that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wouldn't fit at the start here.
Maybe Mr. Nathan Smith needs to make me a graphite one.
Nice needlepoint graphite. Although that's always a problem with graphite. That thin. You know,
that's right.
Highly likely to.
The tips always break.
Yeah, always. I remember the many Revere reamers with broken tips back in the day.
Exactly.
So you're just going to put a little clear on the bottom of your donut here, and that'll let you put it into the rig.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to attach to the bottom. So I'm going to, attach my punny to it to put it up inside to the rig, and then eventually I'm going to attach that little piece to the bottom to make a little space.
And so you're just kind of eyeballing the length there for where you want to bend it, and then cut off the tubing to fit properly with the rest of the piece.
Yeah, and I just want to be really careful with this bend, so I'm using a very high propane-y flame, and I'm going kind of slow back and forth because it's thin, and if I mess up this bend, I have to make the whole donut again.
So just a little, very light heat in there, and a very slow bend with your tweezers.
And then I just kind of eyeball it and see if that's going to fit. And
maybe a little more bend, perhaps.
I think it does need a little bit more bend.
So just once again, super propane-y, controlling it with the tweezers, letting gravity help you out.
And there we go. You can see nice smooth bend. The tubing is not crushed. It's not folded over. And that's what you want to go for in these kind of situations.
Another comparison there, and I think that's looking pretty good.
Ooh, it does. I don't know. I think I got it that time.
You know, you'll be able to take a little bit of that clear off later, so to perfect the height. So I think it's time to pop some holes.
All right, so we're gonna pop a hole on each side. I don't know if this perc has a name, Kevin. Does this perc have a name?
It's kind of like a 2-hole donut perc, I think.
It's a 2-hole donut perc.
2-hole donut perc.
Boom, Kevin made it so.
TM. So what you did there is you popped a hole since the tubing was a little thicker, and then you closed it back up and brought the air right to the surface.
Exactly. And that way I can blow both like that and then pop them really easily without the glass having to move through a lot of thickness.
Right. If you're trying to pop a hole from the full thickness of the glass with the other hole already open, you'll be sitting over there puffing all day long.
Exactly.
Boom, pop those two really easy. You saw how easy they opened up one right after the other. And then the nice BC Metalworks tungsten.
Do you think that yawns are contagious while people are wearing masks? Just ponder that for a second.
Food for thought.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to just open this up and get the holes the right size. And now take off the where I'm going to attach it, or approximately. And for this one, I don't really want to attach a punny right now because it would just knock off and cause a bunch of problems. So I'm going to have to take this off really carefully and then attach a punny and then put it in the kiln.
Right. The fully 90-degree punty is a little bit awkward to work with, for sure. Especially when it would be a lighter connection. So now you'll grab that guy off the bench and seal up.
Yeah, and then this will be fine. And it doesn't have to be a super strong 10 out of 10 seal. This is like more like a 5, 7, something like that. It's a permanent seal, but I'm gonna melt it off eventually.
Right, and it's such a small piece. There's that sharper taper graphite reamer coming in handy.
All right, let's see if it fits. All right. Yeah. Let's do it. Maybe adjust the top just a little bit, but pretty close.
Right, you want it to sit nice and centered in the piece there.
Yep.
So you want to pull a little bit of that tube off, and that's why you left it a little long.
Yep. So this is kind of tricky. What I'm trying to do is pick off an open tube attached to a punny on one side with 2 holes in it. So there's really no point that I can blow, and I got to shorten this tube. So I cut it off and then flared it open again.
Right, you didn't want to close it up because it'd be very hard to get it open nicely.
Yeah. How's this one looking, you think?
Looks good to me.
All right. You
Nailed it.
Put that in there, or do we need to let the oxygen build up for a day?
I think we'll let the oxygen build up, and we'll let these guys sit in the kiln.
Yeah.
Gonna have a nice, good, long kiln soak.
Yeah. So right now at this part of the video, the oxygen was running low because my system, I think the compressor needs to be rebuilt or something. So Market HVO offered to rebuild that thing for me. So it's going to be nice. I'm going to show you guys. Actually, I think we're getting a new system that shows us the purity and flow.
Ooh, fancy.
So when that comes in, I'll show you guys. But we had to take half of it off at that point, and let the oxygen fill up.
Yeah, we had just enough left here to start working on a joint.
Yeah, exactly.
So you the rest of that section of the blue transparent, and you're just kind of pre-shaping a little section that you know is about the right size for a 14 mil joint.
Yeah, and these tools, that if you guys are curious, these joint making tools, they're made by a guy named Buddy Mansfield, and you can find him on the Torch group. And I think he makes these for, I'm sure he sells these now for, I don't know, $100, $200 each, something like that.
They're pretty sweet little tools, though. They do the nice shaping of the joint, and then they also do the lip as well, which I quite like. Yeah, and
then there's different shapes of lips that he's got. Like one's pointy. I think this one might be the pointy one. Maybe not. It's not. I didn't put on enough glass to really get that shape, but he's got different shaped lips that he can add on too. Probably even 2 lines,
Right, totally. Whatever you'd like. Very cool. So once you have that shaped, you'll put it on a graphite holder to take it off of your blow tube.
Yeah, and I want to make sure to heat the graphite up and the joint up so I don't crack the joint.
Right, the graphite will want to pull the heat out of the joint there, especially when it's just sitting on there.
So I'm going to attach a little piece now to the bottom of this. That's like a in-between piece between this and the main body of the banger hanger.
Right, kind of give it some flow. That kind of the relatively classic shape of a banger hanger, I would say, with this kind of Maria below the joint almost.
So
you're just going to open this up, and it's essentially just the joint on there with an opening on the end.
Do you think that people will call the glass that we're making now classical pipe making or something like that? Like we refer to like glass from 400 years ago as like classical glass or classical shaping. Is this going to be a classical banger?
I could see that
in 15 years or 100 years or something.
50 years from now, you got some crazy, fancy neo colors. Who knows what they got? And, that classic. Look at that cadmium.
Oh my god! I remember when we used to use cadmiums. Remember when cobalt wasn't mined fully?
Look at that fine banger hanger. I think so.
What do you guys think that glass mine and cannabis culture will look like in 50 years?
Thinking about 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It's come a long way.
Yeah, think about 50 years ago and how fast we're moving now. I'm curious. Hope I get to see that before I die, huh? So we're just going to open up the bottom of this to get ready for the connection of the Incalmo.
Going in with some of that light green that matches the top of the rig can. It kind of ties it all together nicely.
It almost looks like Illuminati, but it doesn't. It doesn't pop like that Illuminati.
But it is a nice color though. Just give it a nice hot seal on there, and you can see it didn't quite seal all the way, so you're gonna have to go in and tighten that up a little bit when you blow these together.
Yep. Sometimes it's like that when I blow glass.
The seals don't always get all the way hot. That's okay.
Yeah, it just it's great if it comes out perfect the first time, but I would like to know how to deal with it if it doesn't come out good the first time.
Critical. It's I've heard that many times, right? Being a master glass blower isn't what you can make, it's what you can fix.
Yep, exactly. I think it was Pino Signoretto who said that.
Putting some heat in here, and you're just going to make a nice squat bubble. So use some air, use some gravity.
Blow it up. Oh, look at that. Nice and calmo. It came out nice, even though the seal wasn't perfect to begin with.
Just putting that heat in there. It kind of looks like a little mushroom.
I know, huh? Maybe we should make an upside down mushroom rig.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Make it nice and squat so it's good to attach to the side. And then I'm going to blow a hole in the side and get it ready to attach.
That was the end of the oxygen for the night, though, so I think we'll have to kiln this guy overnight and come back to it the next day.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming back a couple times, Kevin, and helping me finish this, because it certainly... Normally we just do it in the session.
Right, we just bust it out, but hey, sometimes gotta go by the whims of the oxygen. I gotta say, it's a lot better than having a doer or something.
Yeah, and I mean, this is like totally unusual. Like, how long have I had this thing? 8 years? Something like that?
The first time in 70 videos or something, we've ever run out of oxygen. Yeah. And it wasn't even out, right?
No, it wasn't even out.
We could have kept working.
Yeah.
Not for doing something like this.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that it was good. So I heated up the side of the piece and then the front of the Perc and stuck them in and it tacked it to the wall. So there's no hole there or anything. And now I'm heating up the outside to make sure that that's stuck, because it's a dangerous seal right now, because it could really crack the piece. And I'm making 2 attachments at once. I'm making the bottom and the wall. Mm-hmm. So I got to be really careful and make sure I keep putting heat in there, right, so that it won't crack the piece.
You don't want that wall section where you've sealed on where the joint will go to cool down, because it's got a lot of stress in there.
Right. So I go back in, heat it up. Go back into the bottom, heat it up.
So you're going to just pull off some of that clear so that it looks like it's about the right height to have the bottom closed in and attached to it.
Yeah, this is a little bit like making the stem of a bubbler, where you're going to be shortening it and you got to kind of estimate where the bottom's going to be and where the Perc is going to land and things like that.
And then you're going to get it nice and straight. So you heated up that wall connection again, straightened it out, and now it's time to go in and close up the bottom.
So I'm going to heat up the wall and then just bring it back in with a paddle and a marver a little bit, make sure that's closed, and then I'll be able to flatten the bottom completely.
Focusing that heat on the lip, same as you were doing when you were opening it, and this time you're just going to use the marver to push it back in.
And there we go, just rolling it around. It's getting closer and closer.
And I'm starting up the Bunsen for you, because I want to keep this guy nice and warm while we're working on closing up this bottom and shaping it.
Yeah, it's especially what we're talking about keeping warm is the side of it, right? So I need to keep that whole top part warm to make sure that it doesn't crack until I can really finish that other part of the seal, the top part of the seal. And even then, it's still kind of sensitive. You got to do this right, because I have it going to be pulling on the glass in 2 places, causing 2 points of tension as opposed to 1.
Right, as the Perc cools, it cools at a slightly different rate than everything else, and
right,
it's pulling on the 2 sections, and yeah, it can really, really crack it if you're not careful.
Yeah, but we're going to try to get through it.
So closing up the bottom here, going in a couple stages, clear off your punty there and finish it off.
There we go, just seal that thing all the way up, and then I'll be able to flatten out the bottom.
You have a little bit of extra glass here, which is good, because then you can clean up the bottom, make it nice and even, and then flatten it out.
Yep, exactly. So now that I have the bottom sealed, this is one step closer to safety with not cracking. But I got to be careful, because that Perc can still move around. I can still get that Perc off center, which would then be a problem, because I wouldn't have any way to touch it with a tool to straighten it out at this point,
And when you're going into the Bunsen, you're going in for 3-4 minutes at least every time.
Oh yeah, it's edited really down for the video. But yeah, I'm not just like putting it in and taking it out. I'm going in for a few minutes, putting it back into the flame for a few minutes and working it, kind of going back and forth. And I'm trying to be extra careful with this, but this is the way that I would recommend you start off doing, just really carefully like this.
Mm-hmm. And now you can go in and flatten the bottom there, and back to the Bunsen, another 5 minutes or so, and then back to working on the bottom.
But I'm getting closer and closer to making that as flat as I want, and I'm gonna push up into that clear a little bit as well, and push that bottom kind of almost all the way down to the hole. So the holes just fire off and hit the bottom of the piece and bounce back up.
Right, get that really nice function there. Keeping a close eye on it as you're flattening.
And I'm still a little bit nervous about the side connection. It's not fully sealed yet. So I'm just gonna go back into the Bunsen, back into the flame. I want to get that bottom done, and then I'm gonna go into the side.
Right, and that'll, once the bottom is fully sealed and closed and cool, solidified where you want it, you can then put the air in to open up that side.
Yep, exactly. So just flatten that bottom. I'm getting close here to where I want that bottom, but I got to get back into the flame pretty soon, otherwise I'm going to crack that side.
All right, starting to push it. Time for the Bunsen.
Yep. It's nice to have it on the bench, man. I tell you, thank you, Preston.
Super handy right there on the corner.
There's that cup that we made too, huh? The hex cup.
Absolutely. That was a little the first test run.
Yeah, I like that one. Flatten this out one more time. Get that nice and even. Turning the blow tube to make sure it's straight all the way up and down. And there we go. I think it's about time for me to get that side connection done and get this piece in the safe zone.
I think so. Just once again, getting it nice and warm in the Bunsen before you go in on it.
Yeah. If you guys check out that mouthpiece, it's the purple mouthpieces that I designed. They're available on the website, dustinrevere.com. A couple bucks each if you want.
Very nice. So you pop that guy in the kiln, give it, maybe 15 minutes this time, a little extra time.
Yeah.
And now it's time to open that up. Light up the Bunsen there. And you're going to actually do this hole opening in the Bunsen.
Might as well. If I can work all the time in the Bunsen, might as well.
Got it. And you prefer this style of Bunsen over the 4 nozzle generally because you like the little bit more heat it gives, right?
Yeah, I like, and it's also like a different flame too. Like I feel like it's a soft kind of
bushy.
Yeah, but the other one's bushy too. It's more like engulfing in a way that the other one's not, right? It's
totally.
Like it like wraps around in a way because I think the way that the jet is, it really wraps around the piece in a nice way.
The shape of the head kind of gives it a flared flame style. So you pop that hole open with your mini torch.
And then just go in. That means like it's already connected, so I'm just going to go in with my reamer, my mini torch, open that up, make sure the connection's really nice, and then open enough for the connection of the joint. And it's not going to move around anymore because it's attached fully on the bottom. It shouldn't crack because the bottom has a nice seal at this point, and now the side has a nice seal. So I think we got through the most risky part of this construction.
And you were just checking there by puffing some air through the piece to make sure you're getting good airflow.
Right. That's why I put my hand in front of there.
Yep.
Exactly. I just want to make sure that the holes weren't clogged, that there wasn't air flowing out of the piece in some other place.
And everything felt good. Give it some Bunsening. Into the kiln it went. And it's time to put that joint on.
All right. Yeah, this is all right with the assist.
Heck yeah, it slid off the joint holder in the kiln there. So just warmed it back up and boom, good to go.
And I'm just gonna use my tweezers here to just make sure that's tight on the joint holder because Kevin just dropped it on, and I know that in one of our blooper videos that you saw me basically doing the same thing, and I said this isn't gonna stay on. I did this move that I just did right there and fell right off. So it is important to take a second, just make sure that's tight on the joint holder.
Right, and it's definitely easier to make sure it's tight before you get it all hot.
Yeah, exactly.
So just pop that hole using your reamer there to open it up to the same size as the hole you have on the rig, and you can seal them together.
All right, this is exciting construction.
Just putting some heat back on the part of the joint that's on the graphite there, making sure it doesn't get too cold and crack on you.
So I'm going to punny this up, and then I'll clean up that punny mark later on the piece, but it's I really wanted to attach this on the front and have that connection point.
Right, it really helps keep it nice and straight, keep it nice and on center there. So now you've got both of these. Go in, heat them both up, give a nice hot seal there to finish off the construction.
These are like the funnest parts for me. These last stages of construction.
Well, we got some problems.
What
Cracks.
do we got? We got a crack going on.
We saw some cracks forming, so I stuck that joint back in the kiln for a minute.
I kind of like watched myself just like kind of move the joint away from the piece towards you.
And so what you're going to do is just go in the Bunsen here and start to work these cracks from where the end of them back.
Yeah. I would, or their start towards the end. Depends where it is, but kind of assess where it is. You can see the crack through there. It's on the top lid piece. So I'm just heating this up, making sure that I bring it to a nice temperature, keeping the whole thing warm, and then go in with my flame, kind of like a paintbrush, just like brushing over the crack, and kind of it'll slowly connect. And especially with solid color work, there's not going to be any clear in between, so you should be able to get it in without a scar.
Just melt it all back in. You may need a little reshape, a little repuff or something like that.
Yeah.
Working upside down so that gravity helps bring it back in. It doesn't fall into the piece.
Yep. And there's Shiloh. He's clearly needs to talk to me about something very important.
And unfortunately, this crack act situation is bad timing.
My 17-year-old. He's like,
patiently waiting.
Yeah, can't talk to him at the moment. I want to get some sandwiches and lemonade.
So just going in on that top section with your Lynx flame now, putting some heat back into it, making sure everything's still on center.
Yep.
Nothing's cracked. Everything's aligned.
And then after I get that crack fixed, it's a really good to put it back into the kiln for another 10-15 minutes before you go and do the next step, just to really get that where you want it to, so you can move on in the piece.
Right, get it all up to equilibrium temperature. So pop that guy out of the kiln, inspect the damage there, and I think we're good.
Yeah, you saw me looking really carefully at it. Got the piece and the joint ready, put them in the kiln, pull that back so I can really reach under the torch to have that in the right angle.
So nice to have the torch on a rail. Plenty of room to work when you need it.
Yep.
So just going in there. Nice hot seal now. Boom. Made it that time. No cracks.
Hopefully not.
Letting those solidify up there. Checking it from all angles. You want to make sure that is nice and straight, lined up with the mouthpiece.
Break that punny off.
Whoop.
All right.
And now you're going to work that seal. Make sure it's nice and solidified. No little creases or anything in there. Perfect opportunity for the mini torch.
Yeah, and this is also like you can sometimes get this all nice and smooth without making a bridge here, but if need be, you can get a male joint and then attach that to the end of a rod and create a bridge going into the female joint, so you could blow into it if need be to clean the seal up even more.
Right, a little temporary stopper that can also bridge up your joint, and then you could even use your Lynx flame or your bench torch if you don't have a hand torch for that. No problem.
Yeah, exactly. So back into the Bunsen, back into the mini torch, kind of going back in. Just being really careful at these final stages.
Exactly. Don't any more cracking now.
No.
Working every side of that. You can see just letting the glass flow together there. And when your seal's good, it should look nice and smooth. And it should almost look like one. It should look like one piece of glass.
Exactly. Set that up so it stands up good. Checking it out. And I think I need to attach a couple of opals onto this thing.
Absolutely, that'd be a nice touch to it.
Yeah. So I'm going to straighten this out, make sure that is in alignment, perpendicular to the piece, not leaning forward or backward in a way that I don't want.
Gotta hang the banger properly.
Exactly.
Now it's Bunsen time again.
Bunsen, always Bunsen time. Look at that! I love those transparents, man.
Looks great. I love the way the colors come together. It's it is a fun. Doesn't kind of remind me of candy. It's a very fun piece.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna put that in the kiln for 10 minutes. Prep up some opals, and let's attach them.
Just got that guy out of the kiln, and of course, with this guy, name of the game is Bunsen. So once it's come up to temp a little more in the Bunsen, you're gonna put some opals on.
So these are just some of the normal synthetic opals that we use in borosilicate glass, and I'm going to be mindful of where I attach these opals because there might be a little bit of marking from the scar of the crack that I healed. And so if there's anything close to that, then I'm going to put the opal right over that mark and make sure that it's hidden from the end and the end of the piece.
Right. Hide any marks there that were left. So just cleaning off the extra clear from the opal there. And you just had these backed with a little bit of color to match.
Do you remember what color I used to back them?
Antidote, possibly?
I love Antidote.
It's a nice one.
It's that old 50s Formica color.
It really is. It really is. Just grab another one here, and you have a few opals prepped up ahead of time. It's nice to have more than you'll need, so you can kind of assess as you're putting them on, see what the piece needs.
Yeah, totally. I think it's so cool when these come together and you got all these reflections and opals and colors and transparent things. It's just eye candy.
It really is. It really is. And of course, I love transparency because you get to see the function.
Yeah, totally. You guys think it's important to see the function in a piece? I'm curious to see how many people think it's important to see the function of the thing, or would you lean more towards aesthetic or opaque colors where you couldn't see the function but would have a different look?
Or maybe sculptural work or something like that, right? A lot of sculptural stuff is the function is a little more hidden.
Yeah, totally.
Number 2 sealed on there.
Yeah, just attaching more and more opals.
Looking for a good third spot for this one. I think a little one on the side just to match.
All right. Into the Bunsen and out of the Bunsen. But that was like 3 minutes in the Bunsen.
Right, not literally just sticking it in and pulling it back out.
Yeah.
And the Bunsen is, hotter than the kiln, but not as hot as the torch flame.
Yeah, it's the in-between.
Stick that guy right on there. Nice hot seal.
And there we go. Push and pull just a little bit, and then go in with a mini torch around the edge to seal it off and make it all smooth.
Exactly. And if you only had a bench torch, you could get a real sharp flame and kind of quarter the seal, but you always want to be careful of where you're splashing your flame with things like that.
All right. Heat this up, connect that.
And you can see you're only working, one side of it at a time, so it doesn't get all floppy and flop off of there.
Yeah. I love this how when it connects, it kind of spreads out a little bit and evens out. It's like it's real obvious when it's connected properly.
Right, you get that nice smooth flow.
Yeah.
Boom. That's a piece.
Well, we're gonna take this off on the saw, and when I take it off, I think I'm gonna heat up the mouthpiece again. And then I might bend it back a little bit.
Little bent neck.
Like kick that back.
Totally.
So you're not like right over the hanger, the hung banger.
Exactly. You want to be hanging back.
Yeah.
Hanging on all sides here.
And now we're just going in and cleaning up any divot or any last little things that I see that I need to clean up. But that's basically it. We'll pop that thing in the kiln. I'll take it off cold. And you guys have seen me take things off cold. This is the piece right now after it's been finished. I bent the neck, took off the top. You can see the oranges and the colors. And whoa, what's that?
It glows too?
Another surprise?
Oh, very nice. That turns out that Illuminati in that backstack really pops.
So the Illuminati is so bright. Yeah, there's the opals, and we really appreciate you guys watching this video. It's for one of you guys.
It sure is. And there's even more glowing. The citrine at the top glows too. Look at that.
Oh my god, it's like orange. It like matches the stem now.
Very cool. We didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Little bonus.
I think that might be not citrine.
Oh, you're right. The citrine glows green, doesn't it?
Citrine glows green.
Oh, it's a mystery color.
We don't know what this color is. It seems to be bright orange in the
It's for one of you guys though.
Yeah. Comment on the piece. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another one. Welcome back, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really fun making this banger hanger. I hope you got something out of it, a trick or something you could use in your own work.
Absolutely. A lot of cool things from that video to add into the repertoire.
Yeah.
I got some questions for you, Dustin.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
First up here from Scorched Glass, how do you prevent reductions in encalmo sections when you're evening out the wall thickness?
Yeah, super relevant question to what we were doing this week, because we had two kind of softer sections with a jet black encalmo in between. And you guys definitely can rewind the video if you missed that, but we want to make sure to put heat on both sides and blow it out and marver it. So we're going to kind of blow it out slow, put heat on one side, heat on the other side, marver, blow, kind of just move it up slowly.
And, you know, keeping care of your flame chemistry, you know, make sure you're using the right kind of flame for the colors you're using. You know, may take more heat, it's a little bit slower process, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Should be good. Yeah. Next one up here from Japuri Glass. Do you have a favorite kind of clear? You know, shot, Pyrex, Cymax, and if so, you know, what applications do you use each for?
I used to use Pyrex back early on, and then I moved to kind of Bora Artistic for a bunch of years.
Which is the shot?
It's shot. Shot is the like the parent company, and they have Bora Artistic and Duran, different levels.
Okay.
Initially they only had the Duran, and then they now have the Bora Artistic, which is good quality, but it's not like the Duran. And then Cymax is what I've been using recently, and I switched to Cymax because I wanted to move away from the Bora Artistic and try something else and see what the differences were. What I've noticed is that the Cymax seems to be a bit softer, and it almost moves a little bit faster. And so you have to soak it in a little bit different way. I don't know. I know that people who fume a lot always talk about how Cymax is better for fuming.
Yep.
So they're all going to be good and they're all going to work. Last 6-8 months I've been using Cymax.
Right, but you know, all the previous videos were all on shot.
Yep, Bora Artistic, shot Bora Artistic.
Totally. Finally here from Action Jackson Glass, how do you deal with joint holders sticking, especially female joint holders? Another very relevant question.
Yep. Well, a couple techniques. One thing that you can do is you can put a spacer of some kind in between the joint and the holder. That will prevent it. And that could be a piece of graphite tape or maybe a little piece of metal.
Like 1/10,000 stainless steel shim, something like that.
And then you want to make sure that both of them are approximately the same temperature when you put them together. If one of them is cold and one's hot, the expansion contraction could cause some sticking. If it is stuck, I would try to take it off a little bit when it's hot, but basically put it in the kiln, let everything cool down, and then try to take it off when things have shrunk a little bit.
Totally.
If that still doesn't work, I would knock lightly on the handle on a table, a wood table, so that the absorption of the shock would go more towards the table than the piece, but still some into the piece.
A little vibration, right? You're trying to kind of shake it off of there, shake it loose.
Those are some techniques that I've used to deal with the joints and the sticking or falling and things like that.
Totally, and you know, you saw that preheating of the joint holder in this video, and that keeps the joint holder from expanding inside it, like you said.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I think we have to give that cup away, the goblet from last time, Dustin.
That's wonderful. I loved making that goblet.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
It's going out to Hunter Gollin. I hope you enjoy.
Thanks, Hunter. Thank you for watching. Thank you everybody else for watching. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another demo, and we hope you guys stay safe.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Bye.